for more than 60 quarters. They beat estimates. Analysts love them. And at the end of last year, that got a bit harder for them to keep up. Medical costs were rising. The government's been cracking down on reimbursements, and that was eating into profits. And so what we reported is that at the end of last year, they approached several private equity firms and asked them if they wanted to buy stakes off of them, of their businesses. And a couple interesting things happened here. Not only did they quietly do this, but the deals were structured such that UnitedHealth can be forced to buy the businesses back down the road. So it's temporary in nature. And United booked the gains in an interesting place. They booked them as part of operating earnings, or adjusted earnings, which is normally where you look to see kind of how a business is doing, excluding one-off gains or one-off events like this. And so it was just interesting to see not only the fact that they stealthily did this, but where they put them. And without these gains, they would have missed estimates and profit would have dropped in the last quarter of last year.
So as I'm going through this article, this certain quote stands out for me from an analyst that you spoke to. He said, if the company is manufacturing earnings by chopping up their furniture or selling their assets, that's not exactly a great business model. Okay, so is the risk that it might be kind of masking this weakness in the operations?
That's the concern. And just to be clear, there's nothing illegal about what they're doing per se.
Right.
They disclosed that they did this. Most people didn't see it. It was in a footnote in their 10K that kind of went under the radar. And there are no details about what exactly they sold. That's what we're trying to, report on here. But yeah, the concern is it clouds, your ability to see how the business is actually performing. And we heard from sources that there's a culture inside UnitedHealth of, kind of there being this pressure to do whatever you can to meet targets every quarter.
Yep. So, again, the stock, it's a huge company, huge player in the managed care business, but stock's down 40%. What's the underlying concern for investors out there, do you think, around this company?
UnitedHealth has been dealing with a lot of things. I mean, even before we knew about this, there was obviously the tragedy of, one of their executives being murdered last year. And then, there was a Wall Street Journal investigation this year about potential Medicare fraud, which they have denied. They also, in the first quarter, reported their first earnings miss in, more than 60 quarters. So that shoe finally dropped. They ousted their CEO. So investors are just concerned about the story here. What is the UnitedHealth story? I think that's what the big concern is.